We were all in heaven up there. We had this beautiful view and the houses that we wanted.
But that view was short-lived.
We didn't get to live there for 2 years.
A landslide crumbled 2 homes and significantly damaged 4 other homes built in the Terra Nativa subdivision in the Boise foothills in the spring of 2016.
Our second house on the right. They were right on what's called the margin of the slide, or the border of the slide, and that slide literally ripped their house in half.
Eric Rossman, an attorney and homeowner who lost his home, says he initially had no idea what was going on until a neighbor called him.
And he said, "You would not believe what is going on. Our house is getting, we've got floor planks coming up, the walls are cracking. It feels like the house is falling apart."
Rossman says he hoped his home could be saved or rebuilt.
That was the ideal hope.
But once he learned how much the land was moving underneath the homes,
we knew we were going to lose it at some point.
Definitely not something we see every day.
City employees like building official Jason Blaze were just as surprised as the homeowners.
We went to investigate, and sure enough, the landslide was basically going right through one of the homes. And that's when we had to start investigating further with Public Works, for sure.
We were convinced through engineering experts that should never have happened. We should never have been on that. That should have never been developed.
When KTVB interviewed city spokesperson Mike Journey in 2016, he said at no point in the permitting process were concerns raised over possible landslides.
Our experts don't have any data, don't have any indication that the conclusion that their expert came to is imminent.
We filed lawsuits. We sued the developer, we sued the developer's engineers, we sued the city, we sued the city's engineers.
Aerial photos were collected as evidence for the lawsuit that showed there was an existing landslide where the homes were developed.
Nobody even identified the landslide. They didn't even look at aerial photographs. So we had real issues with the way that development was approved and submitted, and ultimately how it was developed.
City code says you can't build on landslide areas, but in that same code, there's an exception, allowing construction if the project engineer can prove with reports and proper analysis that these site limitations can be overcome to minimize hazards to life and property and any adverse effect of buildings there.
There's a lot of factors that go into developing up there.
In this case, James Party, a city engineer, says the city determined there was enough analysis to allow construction on the hillside.
This is private property. That burden falls on the developer, who typically hires professional engineers and professional geologists and geotechs to go up there, do site evaluations, and then the burden lies on them to demonstrate that the site is safe for building.
Once the city receives those reports, a third-party firm reviews them to double-check the project engineer's work, and if the firm says it's good, the city gives the green light for the project.
Really, the city's role in this is to kind of honor the process and to make sure that, we're making people aware of potential hazards and making sure that due diligence is kind of done through the processes that are established.
Litigation in this case lasted about 2 years.
It was a terrible couple of years.
And as an attorney, Rossman was able to represent himself.
I didn't understand that there is an exclusion in your homeowner's insurance policy, in your property insurance policy, for ground movement. So there was no insurance to cover any of this. So the only financial recovery we were going to get was through bringing the lawsuits and the claims. And ultimately, those were resolved to everyone's satisfaction.
In the settlement, the city of Boise paid homeowners a total of $257,000, money the homeowners split, and all parties agreed to dismiss the case. Ultimately, most of the homes were demolished and the properties auctioned off.
So there's one remaining home out there, in our understanding, it's still under litigation.
As you can see, not much is left of the neighborhood on North Alto via court, but an engineer I spoke with says not all hope is lost for homeowners looking to build on the Boise foothills.
One of the things, the benefits of that slide is there's been a lot of studies on that slide and stability in the foothills in general. It's kind of lit a fire under all of us to really make sure we're doing a better job of getting a good understanding of what's happening and really being able to provide that information to developers and feel confident with the recommendations that we give.
The city says it'll take more rigorous requirements to convince the city that area of land can take more development.
It would be very challenging. It's going to take some significant engineering investigation for anything to be considered.
Rossman hopes this never happens to any future homeowners.
It impacts your work, it impacts your family, it impacts your relationship. And we all went through all of that, all those emotions in that couple years.